On November 24, 1971, a man wearing a clip-on tie and sunglasses hijacked a commercial jet for $200,000 in cash and 4 parachutes. He made his demands, got his money, and vanished into a raging storm over the Pacific Northwest. He simply leapt from the rear of the plane at 10,000 feet and was never seen again. Did he survive, or is he just a ghost with a pocket full of 20s? This is the unbelievable true story of the legend, the enigma, D.B. Cooper. It was the day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday, November 24, 1971, a time when the entire United States was preparing for a holiday feast. At Portland International Airport, a man calling himself Dan Cooper approached the Northwest Orient Airlines counter. He was nondescript, early 40s, approximately 6 feet tall, dressed in a black raincoat, a dark suit, a starched white shirt, a clip-on black tie, and wearing sunglasses, even indoors. He looked like an executive, perhaps a traveling salesman. He paid $20 cash for a one-way ticket on Flight 305 to Seattle, a short 30-minute commuter hop. Aboard the Boeing 727, Dan Cooper took seat 18C in the rear cabin. He was calm, polite, and immediately ordered a bourbon and soda. The plane was only partially full, carrying 36 passengers and a crew of 6. Shortly after takeoff, while the flight was cruising at 10,000 feet over the lush green landscape of Washington State, Cooper beckoned the flight attendant nearest him, 23-year-old Florence Schaffner. He handed her a note. Schaffner, believing it to be a lonely businessman's phone number, casually dropped it into her purse. "Miss?" Cooper leaned in and spoke in a low, even tone. "You'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Schaffner opened the note. It was typed in neat block letters. "I have a bomb in my briefcase. I will use it if necessary. I want you to sit down beside me." Schaffner complied, her heart pounding. Cooper calmly opened the briefcase on his lap, just enough for her to glimpse a tangle of red wires, a large battery, and 8 red cylinders that looked terrifyingly like dynamite sticks. He then dictated his demands, his voice never rising above a conversational volume. 1. $200,000 in negotiable American currency, specifically unmarked, non-sequential $20 bills. 2. 4 parachutes, 2 primary, 2 reserve. 3. A fuel truck waiting at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, SeaTac, to refuel the plane upon landing. Schaffner immediately relayed the demands to Captain William Scott in the cockpit. The FBI and airport authorities were mobilized. President Nixon was notified. In an era before 9/11 and stringent airport security, the authorities' priority was the safety of the passengers. They agreed to Cooper's terms. For the next 2 hours, the plane circled Puget Sound, while the money was collected from several Seattle banks and the parachutes were brought in from a local jumping school. Cooper remained cool. He reordered a bourbon, paying the flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, who spent the duration of the crisis sitting next to him, for the drinks. She described him as thoughtful and even courtly. At one point, he noticed the cabin was warm and offered her his coat. At 5:39 p.m., Flight 305 landed at SeaTac. The runways were dark and ringed by law enforcement, but Cooper was in charge. He demanded that the delivery of the money and parachutes be made by a single, unarmed intermediary. Once the delivery was confirmed, Cooper performed a precise count of the $20 bills and inspected the parachutes. He released all 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants, keeping only Captain Scott, First Officer Radachek, Flight Engineer E.H. Anderson, and Tina Mucklow. His next instructions were chillingly precise and revealed a knowledge of aviation. The plane was to be refueled. The crew was to take off, flying southeast toward Mexico City. The plane was to maintain an altitude no higher than 10,000 feet. The landing gear was to remain extended. The flaps were to be lowered to 15 degrees. The cruising speed was to be no more than 100 knots, about 115 miles per hour. These specific settings were designed to lower the plane's ground speed, allowing a relatively safe parachute exit from the plane's rear stairwell, a feature unique to the Boeing 727 known as the airstair. At 7:40 p.m., with a fresh tank of fuel and $200,000 in cash, Flight 305 took off again, heading toward a storm-ridden darkness. Two F-106 fighter jets from the U.S. Air Force, scrambled from a nearby base, followed Flight 305, cruising far above and behind, struggling to keep the slow-moving plane in sight through the heavy clouds and rain. After an hour in the air, around 8 p.m., Cooper ordered Tina Mucklow to the cockpit and told her to keep the door closed. The cockpit crew noticed a warning light indicating that the rear air stair had been deployed. This feature, an external staircase, was designed to be used on the ground, but Cooper exploited it. At approximately 8:13 p.m., while flying through severe turbulence and drenching rain near the border of Washington and Oregon, the aircraft's nose suddenly pitched up, requiring the crew to stabilize it, a clear sign that a significant weight had suddenly shifted or been expelled from the rear. Cooper was gone. The plane landed safely in Reno, Nevada at 10:15 p.m. FBI agents swarmed the aircraft. All they found was his clip-on tie, a crucial piece of DNA evidence later used by investigators. Two of the four parachutes, one of which was unusable, leading to speculation that Cooper, despite his competence, made a critical mistake. And 8 filter-tip cigarette butts. The thermal signature of the plane's rear cabin showed no residual heat. The money, the briefcase, the bomb, and the man, Dan Cooper, had vanished into the freezing 200-knot wind of the Pacific Northwest. The name D.B. Cooper became famous due to a media error. A reporter mistakenly conflated the hijacker with a local man named D.B. Cooper. The alias stuck. Chapter 5. The Clues and the Treasure. The FBI launched an investigation, codenamed NORJAK, that would span over 50 decades, becoming one of the most exhaustive cold cases in history. They interviewed thousands of people and chased every lead, developing a vast profile of the potential hijacker.
For 10 years, the case remained utterly cold. The official search area was a massive, mountainous, and heavily forested region near Ariel, Washington, known for its extreme wilderness. Nothing was ever found. Then, in February 1980, the most significant evidence materialized. 8-year-old Brian Ingram was vacationing with his family along the Columbia River, about 20 miles downstream from Cooper's projected jump point. While raking the sandy banks, he found 3 rotting packets of cash. The serial numbers matched the money given to Cooper. Ingram had unearthed $5,800 of the ransom, confirming that the money had been dropped near the river or washed downstream. The discovery immediately reignited the mystery. Did Cooper drown in the river after a successful landing? Did he jump far from the assumed drop zone? What happened to the remaining $194,200? The remaining money was never found, nor were the 2 used parachutes or Cooper's briefcase. The discovery led Boeing to install a special mechanism on all 727s, the Cooper vane, a safety device that prevents the airstair from being opened during flight. Chapter 6. The Unsolved Legacy. The FBI formally closed the case in 2016, though a small, dedicated team of retired agents and private investigators continues to pursue the riddle. They maintain that the most likely scenario is that Cooper, an amateur parachutist, did not survive the jump due to the harsh conditions, near freezing temperatures, zero visibility, and the plane's speed. They believe the money found by Brian Ingram was likely detached from Cooper's body upon impact or washed away during the turbulent night. Yet, the legend persists, fueled by a half-century of theories and suspects. Richard Floyd McCoy, a Mormon Vietnam veteran who executed a strikingly similar jump a few months later. He became the primary suspect, but the FBI eventually ruled him out based on inconsistent physical descriptions. Kenneth Christensen, a former Northwest Airlines purser who fit the physical description and had military paratrooper experience. Robert Rackstraw, a decorated Vietnam veteran with skydiving and explosives experience who was identified by a private investigative team as the most compelling suspect before the case closure. The true identity of D.B. Cooper remains the holy grail of American cold cases. Was he a sophisticated criminal, a desperate war veteran, or just a meticulous man who executed a near-perfect crime only to lose the final gamble to the harsh wilderness? He took $200,000 and left only a single, beautiful mystery in his wake. The legend of D.B. Cooper is not just about a missing man, but about the enduring American fascination with the ultimate escape artist who, against all odds, vanished into the sky. 54 years later, a suit and tie, a cigarette butt, and $5,800 in muddy cash are all that remain of America's greatest unsolved caper. Was Cooper a genius criminal, or just a ghost lost to the mountains? The answer is still out there. Don't let the mystery fade. If you want to dive deeper into the clues, the suspects, and the cold, hard evidence that the FBI gathered, smash that like button and subscribe for more unsolved true crime legends. Tell us in the comments, who do you think D.B. Cooper was?